All right. Hello, and welcome to 5 Secrets to a Nutritional Mindset Makeover. This is your masterclass. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm excited to get started, so we're just going to get right into it. But before we do, a little minds-on activity. I'd like you to think about why you're here. Something has brought you here, and that's great. I'm glad that you're here, but I'd like you to think about why, and we're going to discuss a little bit more why you're here. So welcome. This masterclass is for you if you aren't seeing results in your nutrition or your well-being. That happens. Maybe you're not feeling as great as you know you could feel. Maybe you're not meeting your nutritional goals. Maybe it's fat loss, weight loss, whatever it is. Or maybe it's just you want to hit your macros a little bit better, your macronutrients. Perhaps you're feeling stuck. That's a common one, and I'm there sometimes. Maybe you have troubles identifying the connection between your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. That's the biggest one I see with clients is the connection between those three, which we're going to discuss in more detail pretty soon. Maybe you're here because you want to learn more about what your specific nutritional mindset shift looks like, because this is a makeover. We want to make over that mind. It's very important because we eat up here first before we put anything in our mouths. Maybe you're feeling frustrated, defeated because there's no progress. Fair. It happens. Or maybe you're just here because you're curious. You're curious. English words are hard for me today. I don't know what's happening, but I think you understand what I'm saying. If not, there's a slideshow right there, and that's the purpose of that. This doesn't always work as well. This masterclass is not for you, though, if you're not willing to be honest with yourself as to why you feel yourself. So again, we've kind of moved away from physical hunger and identifying what physical hunger is. And we're not eating just to survive anymore. We're eating for other purposes. And a lot of that has to do with emotional hunger and sometimes our thoughts. So you need to be honest with yourself. You need to be your accountability buddy in all this. Be accountable to yourself. Be honest with yourself, because that's the only way that you're going to be able to move forward and make any changes. Is we want to make sure that you are acknowledging what you're doing. Maybe what you're doing is great. That's fantastic, but acknowledge that, right? Let's be honest, because as I said, we need to have some shifts. We can't shift anything if we don't acknowledge where maybe the shoe is pinching. This masterclass is not for you if you're not prepared to experiment with some of the perspectives provided. So in this masterclass, I've provided you with some ideas and perspectives that you can challenge yourself with and experiment with. Take what resonates with you. That's the beauty of this, is that I'm not telling you what to eat, when to eat, blah, 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 nothing like that. This is all about you creating a plan for you, because who knows you best other than you? So this is all about trying what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and most importantly, why. Identifying and reflecting on why something is working for you and also why it's maybe not working for you. So a lot of reflecting that's going to be happening. And lastly, this masterclass is not for you if you're not allowing yourself to identify and unlearn some of these habits. So, okay, now that we've acknowledged, now we have to do some work here. Now we have to actually unlearn. Maybe there's something that you learned when you were younger and that information doesn't really pertain to current research that's going to be more beneficial to your nutritional mindset. So hopefully everybody is here that needs to be here. Okay, so who am I? Why should you listen to me? That's a good looking question. I'm glad you asked. Here's a list of a bunch of credentials that some have nothing to do with this. But it looks great, so I just included it. My name is Shannon Kelly. I'm a former professional dancer. That's what I identify with the most. I also have degrees in marine biology, Bachelor of Education, Bachelor of Arts, because why not have all the bachelor's, right, degrees? Those of you that are Canadian, I'm based out of Canada right now. I've got my qualifications with the Canadian Fitness Professionals, and some of the qualifications I hold: personal training, healthy eating and weight loss coach, stress resiliency coach, and fascia movement specialist. I also have my certification in body language, because that's all related, right? And I'm also a teacher. So I am a member of the Ontario College of Teachers. That's currently what my position is right now, and I'm doing this on the side. Not that this means any less, not that you mean any less to me. You mean just as much. It's just different timelines. So I'm doing this on the side with lots of love. What's not listed here? I want to be very clear about this. Doctor of Medicine. I did go to school for pre-med. I wanted to be an endocrinologist. For those of you that don't know what an endocrinologist is, I love hormones. I know that sounds weird. I'm a weirdo, but I do love the medical field, just maybe not enough to pursue it as a career. I prefer professional dancer. That's what I chose. Anyways, my whole point in telling you that is if you have specific medical requirements, please refer to your doctor and not my advice. I'm just providing you with some perspectives, not necessarily medical advice. Okay, now that that's out of the way. Let's do a little minds-on activity. This is what I do with my students to get them thinking on the topics that we're going to be focusing on. So this is to start activating the juices in your brain. I want you to think about some of these questions. Number one, have you tried many or any diet plans in the past or are currently following a diet plan? Maybe it's one you've created. Maybe it's something you're following something that somebody else created. So I want you to think about that, how it's going. Are you enjoying the plan? Did you enjoy the plan? Have you ever tried a plan? Or you just, there's food, I'm just going to eat it. You don't even think about it. No plans. Cool. No judgment zone. Number two, have you met with success on either one or some of these plans or any plan that you've created for yourself? Okay, so I want you to think about what that success looked like for you. What it looked like, sound like, feel like. Okay, now that you've thought about it, I want you to move on to the third question. So if you said yes to any of those above statements, did you notice any sustainable results? Okay, and what I mean by that is, did your successful results last? The reason I say this is because I've been on many plans myself, and that's how I created my own program, is that I took what resonated with me from the various plans that I've been on, and the ones that I felt were most successful for myself. But the issue is sometimes you can start a plan and follow it to the point where it's like very restrictive, and then you're not really sustaining the results, right? You're not successful because it's too limited. It's too restrictive. If you've never created a plan for yourself or followed a plan, then this is something I'd like you to think about. Be open-minded to the perspectives that I'm sharing with you. If you're like me, you most likely had successful results. This is what we just talked about in trying various diet plans. However, weren't able to sustain the results because guess what? The plans weren't sustainable themselves, right? They weren't meant to be for long-term, even if they said long-term. You know which ones I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about keto and all the low-carb things. I'm not knocking them. If you love that, that's great. I don't want to offend anybody. All I'm saying is that for me personally, I don't like cutting out food groups. Now, maybe your doctor thinks differently, and that's up to your doctor, not me. But I'm saying to remove food groups altogether, is that sustainable? I don't know. That's a you problem. That's a you question. You figure that one out. I'm just here to facilitate, bring up the ideas, and then you figure it out. Okay, last question. Do you believe that it is possible to incorporate an intuitive eating mindset? And we'll come back to that in just a second, while still consuming the foods that you love and obtaining the results that you want, and wait for it, getting sustainable results, because that is the goal. We want to clean up our mental diet and our nutritional diet. So let's go back to what an intuitive eating plan is. Well, intuitive means intuition. So I want you to check in with yourself. Intuitive is basically a lot of check-ins. In my definition, that's what intuitive eating is that you're constantly checking in with yourself. That is the big idea, our whole goal of this masterclass is to create awareness and that intuition. So this is what you're going to learn. How to identify the reasons why you fuel yourself, because as I mentioned before, we're not always refueling for physical hunger, for survival. Now we're relying on different things, different reasons to fuel ourselves. You're going to be learning what you might be doing to sabotage your results. Yes, maybe there's something you don't even know that you're doing that's creating chaos up in here and right here, maybe. You're going to be learning about the difference between physical and emotional hunger, and there are differences. So it's important that we pay attention to that. And lastly, how to give your nutritional mindset a makeover, because that is why we're here, right? All right, let me move myself so you can see myself. This is a picture of me recently, a couple months ago. And this is me holding my book. It's called Diets. We're just not that into them. The book is not launched yet, but I had this picture taken because I couldn't believe the results that I achieved. The goal was not weight loss necessarily. It was just to feel good. I wanted something sustainable. I'm going to use that word a lot. Sustainable is our buzzword today. And really what I was looking for is a lifestyle. I wasn't looking for a quick fix. It's not like I had to. In fact, I went to a wedding the day of this photo shoot. And by photo shoot, I mean like my mom took this picture of me in her bedroom. So, it wasn't professional or anything. But my point is that I didn't lose the weight. The purpose of this was not to lose weight for a wedding. I wanted to just feel good, but not for that day. It just happened to be that during the plan, at the time that I was going to the wedding, I had dropped 10 pounds. And that was over the course of like a couple months. Obviously, you don't want to do it too quickly. I say obviously, but anyways, might not be obvious to everybody. That's okay. So my point is that I was very proud of myself because it wasn't about the weight loss. That was a byproduct. That was a secondary goal. My primary goal was that I was feeling better about myself, but I wasn't always struggling with weight. When I was a kid, I was very skinny. I was dancing a lot and not eating a lot. So that equated to a very skinny structure. And then I got to high school and I dated a senior and I was a freshman, and it was like the happiest time of my life at that point. And then he dumped me. And we're not hating on him though, but my point was is that in order to fill the void and fill the time, I turned to eating. And I basically ate my feelings. So that created a lot of chaos up here and, here everywhere pretty much. But that's okay. Not judging myself. Just I kind of got lost at that point. I didn't know what to do. So I went to a whole bunch of clinics, like diet clinics, and it was all low carb and this, that, and the other. And it was really confusing. Anyways, I was feeling stuck, frustrated, and like nothing was working for me, as I'm sure we all have at one point in our lives. And if you haven't, congratulations. That's great. You bypassed all that. So I decided to create a program to shift my mentality. And I thought, hey, if this works for me, I want to help others do the same thing by creating that awareness and by helping you create your own plan for you. Because again, who knows you better than you? So I provide you with a whole bunch of perspectives that you can take, as I said before, that anything that resonates with you, and you create your own plan through experimentation, what works, and then leave what doesn't work. So by shifting my nutritional mindset, I did lose the weight. Again, it wasn't my primary goal, and I'm still continuing to lose a few pounds here and there. It's not, I'm not going to extremes. It's fine. I'm healthy. I'm feeling great. And consequently, I feel better physiologically, mentally, and emotionally. Everything's working at its best capacity. I feel more confident, and that's wonderful. That's a great secondary goal or a byproduct. I trust myself more because now I'm trusting the process. And I'll explain to you a little bit more about this process in this masterclass. And lastly, I feel more empowered. So this is kind of scaffolded, right? We start here and then we go here, we build, and then we get that sweet release of empowerment. So we're going to do this together. Let's get started. Into our 5 secrets. Secret number 1, we want to unlearn past knowledge. This one's important. Somewhere along the way, our nutritional journeys, we learn something that has nothing to do with effective nutrition. There's at least one fact. I challenge you to, there has to be a fact. I'm sure somebody has some sort of information that resides here that has nothing to do with good habits. And the reason I say that is take a look at this one right here. This is an illustration. I'm based in Canada. So any of my Canadians that are watching this, this is Canada's food guide. It has been revised though. I believe this is from like the 90s. But what I want to turn your attention to is the numbers right here in the grain products. 5 to 12 servings. Who are we serving? An NBA team? Why do you need 12 servings, 12 pieces of bread a day? Now, obviously, there's more information to that. I'm exaggerating to make my point, and my point is this: at some point, somebody was like, you know what, 12 slices of bread a day. It's a good look. And for me, being a carb-a-holic, I love carbs. This plan would absolutely, I would fall in love with it, but I would also have a love-hate relationship with it because I wouldn't feel the best. I know with me that if I eat too many starches, and I'm not talking about carbohydrates like fruits and vegetables, I'm referring to carbohydrates with respect to starches. If I eat too many of them, I don't feel great, right? I start to feel a little bit lethargic. So my point is that at some point we look at these guides and we say, something's not resonating with me. And it could be a perfectly good guide. If maybe the updated version has great requirements, but they don't all match what I need. Okay. And that's important for you to identify what works and what doesn't work. Okay. So unfortunately, we did learn some things in our past about nutrition that might not be great. And the one thing I know that I'm thinking about is all the keto stuff. And I know I'm not bashing that, but it's like, it doesn't work for everyone because you're eliminating a food group. If it works for you, though, more power to you. Keep doing it. Doctor approved it. Cool. But if there's something that doesn't work for you, so if the low carb doesn't work for you, stop doing it. Unless your doctor said, why are you doing it? So there you go. So it's important to unlearn things that just don't resonate with you anymore. Okay. It's okay to change. Here we go. Secret number 2, the hunger scale. We're going to talk about what hunger looks like on a scale, a number scale. We're mathematicians now. I'm going to be launching my signature method for nutritional mindset very soon, as I mentioned before. And in that signature method, I share with you the strategies that I've learned to help shift my mindset, make that mindset makeover by simply addressing your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. There's a huge connection between this love triangle right here. So it's important to identify, acknowledge, identify, and then act. Since I'm a teacher, like I highlighted all the important information. So if I'm talking a lot and it's overwhelming and you're feeling like not everything is settling in nicely, just look at the highlighted points. You can always come back and watch this again if you so wish. I would like you to, next time you eat a meal, whether it's a snack or a full meal, I'd like you to take inventory of how you're feeling physically. What does that mean? Are you hungry? Ask yourself that right now, even just watching this right now. Are you hungry? Well, what does that mean? We can just say, yeah, I'm hungry. I mean, I'm always hungry personally. I'm never full. It's very rare that I'm full, maybe on a holiday, but it's just like a never ending, I don't know. So my point is that, yeah, okay, I'm hungry, but what kind of hungry am I? What kind of hungry are you? So it's important to identify what kind of hunger that we are experiencing. So for this, on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being you're full or maybe you're even overstuffed, and 5 meaning you're starving, and obviously 3 being in the middle, like, yeah, I'm hungry, I could eat. I'd like you to check in. So assign yourself a number of where you are on the hunger scale. That will help you to start identifying hunger cues, which is really important. Lastly, oh yeah, and the next, after that, I'd like you to check in with your emotions. I forgot the emotion part. That's really important. See, it's important for me to remind myself. What are you feeling after you rated on a scale of 1 to 5? Okay, you're kind of hungry. You're number 3, you're hungry. How are you feeling? Are you happy, sad, angry, frustrated, anxious, depressed, tired, stressed? There's all kinds of feelings. So identify the feelings that you're feeling. If you're not really sure, because it happens, there's been times where I'm just like, meh, that's okay. Meaning you're not really sure how you feel at that time. That's totally fine. With practice, you will start to identify with how you're feeling. And then lastly, what kind of food are you thinking about eating? Because there's a connection between your hunger, your actual physical hunger, how you're feeling, and the types of foods that you're about to prepare or you're about to consume. Okay, so I'd like you to connect the dots between how hungry you are, how you're feeling, and the foods that you're craving or you're about to eat. There's always a connection. Even if you're feeling great, you're physically hungry and you feel like healthy food, that's great. I'd like you to log that, write that down. That's an important connection, because what you've just said, what you've recorded and reflected on is that I'm feeling great. I'm hungry, so I'm ready for food. I'm not forcing myself. I'm ready for food, and I'm craving healthy foods. Great. So when you go back to look in your notes, you can say, oh yeah, I remember that day. I didn't overeat. I had a good eating day that day. Sometimes that's what I do. I assign meals and I'm just like, okay, that meal was good. Check. That meal was good. Check. I'm checking all the boxes, because again, I'm checking in with myself, which that is where the success lies in. Okay. And lastly, I want you to identify the reasons why you're eating. So in connection with the types of foods that you're eating and the timing when you're refueling. Because again, all of this has to do with your whole schedule, your system. I want you to identify your patterns. So the time of day is really important too, that you can record. So lots to reflect on. So let's keep going. More reflecting. Secret number 3, mindful eating. What the heck is this? I got you. I'm going to explain to you right now. It's mindful eating. That's it. It's not complicated. Are you experiencing your food when you eat it? So when I first learned about mindful eating, I thought it was a joke. I was actually laughing when I learned about this, and I was like, are we really expected to meditate whilst we eat? That's not what that means. What it means is that you should be using your senses while you're eating, because that's going to help you experience your food. So think about when you're preparing your food, you're combining lots of plant foods, maybe different types of macronutrients, lots of color, right? So your eyes are now stimulated because there's lots going on your plate. Maybe you're preparing your food on your plate to make it look great. Because again, we eat with these first before we put anything in our mouths. We eat with our eyes. Do you smell your food? This is like the weirdest question ever, but it's important because I have a couple friends that are chefs and they sniff their food. I was disgusted by this at first, not judgmental, just like, what's happening? What are you doing? Like, do you eat your food through your nose, or like, are you about to put it in your, like, I don't understand the process. And so they explained to me that when they sniff their food, they're sensing the seasonings, so they want to know what's in their food. And so that explains why I'm not a chef, because I don't know, salt, pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder, and we're done. That's my extent of cooking. So I don't need to smell it because I know there's only 4 seasonings in there. But these guys are so well adapted to understanding what goes in their food. But I think there's something in that that we can adopt. If you're smelling your food, you're really taking in information in one way. You're looking at your food, you're taking information in another way. You're tasting your food, you're chewing your food. And each time you chew your food, there should be a burst of flavor and a bunch of texture in your mouth that you should be acknowledging. So, how do we successfully implement this? You stop being distracted during your meals. What does that mean? That means not checking emails, not looking at your phone, not watching TV. Yes, I know it's really challenging these days to separate the two. If you're great at this already, kudos to you. That's awesome, because I found it very hard. I got into a habit of watching TV or answering emails or getting stuff done, so that way I could maximize my free time after that. But it got to the point where I was overeating and I wasn't really experiencing my food. So my brain wasn't registering that I was eating. And it wasn't telling the rest of my being that food is being had here. Maybe you should stop, put the fork down. So all of this is connected. So what I did, I paused the TV. I stopped. I slowly sniffed my food and I looked at it and I would bite it and I would chew it and I would look away. I would look out the window because I want to really take in what I was eating. When you get in the habit of this, and I'm not saying you have to do this with every bite, I'm challenging you to do this as much as possible and maybe do it with like one meal a day. All right, just to get into the habits. Again, I don't want to change too much of what you're doing, because if you're doing stuff that you like, I don't want to take all the joy out of your life. That's not I'm not a buzzkill. I just want you to get into the habit of acknowledging all of this, because again, knowledge is power, but you have to do something with that knowledge. You can't just be like, oh yeah, I'm distracted when I eat. Okay, that's great. At least try. Okay. So just going back a little bit, going back to what the brain registers, when the brain registers that you are actually eating something, it sends a signal to your entire being that you're satisfied and you're nourished. And so what that does is that can have a positive impact on our hormones and therefore our well-being, because they're saying, hey, we like what we're eating. This tastes really good. And that actually plays a huge part in your well-being. So there you go. Mindful eating. Really important. Secret number 4. Now we're going to look into identifying physical hunger. Again, it's really important to check in with ourselves. So previously we discussed a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being we're stuffed or we're full, we're satisfied, 5 being we're starving, we're famished. Now what I'd like us to do is look at the physiological feelings. So we've looked at the numerical value. Okay, now we're looking at the quantitative. Now we're looking at the qualitative. We want to look at, what does a 5 mean? What does a 1 mean? Okay, so we're assigning those qualitative attributes. So for example, we look at number 1, we're full or we're stuffed. Okay, we can look at that either way. So it ranges from feeling satisfied. If we're full, we've eaten a lot. Typically it means we're satisfied, we're content, we don't need any more food. Or maybe we've overstuffed ourselves a little bit and maybe we're a little bit uncomfortable, heavy, lethargic, maybe even feeling sick if we've consumed too much, AKA all the holidays that happen. That's me personally. So we want to be mindful of that feeling. Okay. Number 2, peckish. We're not quite hungry just yet, but we're feeling some grumblings in the tummy. Maybe we can eat a nibble of something until mealtime. Again, this has to do with your schedule. If you're not going to be eating for a long time, that might be the best time to nibble on a snack or have something just to pass the time until it's time to have a meal, because I don't want to get you to starving. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. Number 3, hungry. This is where you want to, this is your sweet spot. Number 3 is really, you want to say, okay, I'm actually hungry. What does that mean? You're ready for a snack or a meal, depending on timing, again, with your day, when your meal schedule is. If you're not going to have another meal for a long time, you might want to have a bigger meal. If you are going to have another meal in the next little bit, just maybe have a snack. Hunger pains might be present. So those are the things that you might be feeling when you're hungry. Number 4, hungry / borderline starving. Okay, this is where we're at, where we're thinking, okay, this is also kind of a sweet spot where we want to be. Our hunger pains are present. We're ready for a meal. Our energy is starting to feel a little bit low. We might start to feel like the tasks that we're doing are not getting completed as efficiently. That's a sign. Okay. And then lastly, starving. So that's like our emoji right here. This is our hanger emoji on the right here. He's not so happy. This could include feelings of feeling faint, lightheaded. Maybe you feel a bit sick or shaky, ready for a big meal. This means that your energy levels are very low. We want to refer to this hanger guy again, right? The main thing is that our goal is we want to keep our blood sugar stable. And what that means is that we don't want to be so full, like a number 1, to the point where we're really uncomfortable, because then our digestive systems are strained. They're working overtime to process all the food that we've consumed. We also don't want to be starving, because at that point our blood sugar is really low, and we don't want our food that we consume after that to store in our fat stores, which is sometimes what can happen. So we really want to be at that sweet spot of number 3, hungry, every time that we're about to eat. Okay, if you can do it. I know that sometimes people and their schedules, it's challenging, but again, just you want to acknowledge, make small changes. That's where you're going to find your success. We've made it to our last secret. Secret number 5, physical hunger versus emotional hunger. What is the difference? You're going to learn. All right. So each time you reach for something to eat, I'd like you to rate yourself on the hunger scale. Okay, we've said this several times. We know between a 1 and a 5. If you've identified your hunger as a level 1 or 2, you could be eating from emotional hunger. So what we've done is we've set the foundation with our physical hunger scale. Now we're layering it on top of that, our emotional hunger. So if we're not that hungry or we're stuffed and we're eating, that means we're probably eating for something other reasons than physical hunger. That's a really important tool. So I would go ahead and practice this one a lot. Next, check in with your emotions and thoughts and determine the reason why you're fueling yourself. Again, this is all related. It's pretty much the same thing, just in a different category here. So is there something else that you could be doing? Sometimes when I'm hungry, I think, is this really hunger, or am I just trying to like pass the time? I have nothing better to do. I'm anxious and I'm waiting on something. And so I need something to do. It feels productive, but really it's not, because I'm just overloading my digestive system. Something that I do is I have a glass of water, an 8-ounce glass of water. And if after the glass of water, a couple minutes pass and I'm not hungry, that means that I was eating out of emotional hunger. But if I have the glass of water and a couple minutes pass and I'm still hungry, I'm ready for a meal. So sometimes we can feel that we're not too sure, we're a little unsure of what our hunger is. That's another tool that you can use. And lastly, could you occupy your thoughts or emotions by doing something from your joy list? What is a joy list? I'm so glad that you asked that. It's a great question. It is a list of things that bring you joy. I know it's really complicated, isn't it? So I want you just to write things down that make you happy to do, something that doesn't really necessarily involve eating and drinking, because we want to distract ourselves. I know it sounds bad, but I don't mean that in a way like, oh, just keep sleight of hand, look over here, there's nothing to see over here. That's not what I mean. I just mean to get us in the habit of identifying when we're actually hungry and our actions, eating when we're hungry. Okay, that's really important. So just acknowledging, saying like, yeah, no, I'm eating out of emotional hunger, ergo I'm just going to keep going. No, no, no. At some point we have to stop the actions, and that's where this that third component comes in. So we've got our emotions, we've got our thoughts, and we've got our actions. So now it's time to actually make the shift in those actions, and that's where your joy list comes in. Again, if you're in a job situation where you can't, your favorite thing is to go ride a bike, but you can't leave your workplace, then you have to make some adjustments to that. You have to get really creative with some ideas that are actually going to help you facilitate the joy list. So think about things that you can do in when you're at home, when you're at work, when you're somebody else's place, you're at a wedding. What is it that you can do to not focus on eating, especially when you're not hungry? If you're hungry, though, this is the one thing I want to say. I know I just said especially, I didn't mean that, but if you're hungry, I want you to eat. Okay, I'm not saying don't ever eat. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that I want you to learn, start really understanding yourself and what your patterns are, what your thought patterns are, what your emotions are. And is there a connection between all three? Do you have these repeating patterns? Or is this something new? Is this a fresh start? This is a new habit that just came around. I don't know where this came from. I want you to really check in with yourself. That's what this is all about. Feel yourself when it's time to feel yourself, but do other things when you're not hungry. I'm not saying not to treat yourself. I treat myself at least once a day. It's fun to treat yourself. I don't want to take away your fun. I'm not a buzzkill. But I just want you to be more mindful of what it is that you're doing. And again, you can adjust this to whatever suits you. So that's the beauty of this. So take what I'm saying, take what resonates, experiment with the ideas, and adjust as needed. So let's go over what we just talked about. So we unlearned past knowledge. I've been talking a lot. So going back to the beginning, it's like, ooh, when did we talk about that? An hour ago? Unlearning past knowledge. So again, we want to identify some of the things that maybe don't resonate with current research with respect to nutrition. The hunger scale, assigning a numerical value to your hunger. Mindful eating. Are you sniffing your food? Sniff your food. Identifying physical hunger. So now we're looking at the physiological, the qualitative attributes, and our physical hunger versus emotional hunger, making those connections, putting it all together, because again, that's really important. Now that you see the pieces, you can kind of see how they're all being put together. That's really important. And if you forget any of the ideas, because I've been talking so much, you can always go back, because I know this can be a little bit overwhelming with a lot of information. Just so you know, as we wrap up this masterclass, we have a lot of exciting things happening, a lot of exciting launches that are going to be happening within the next few months. So Supreme Kinetics is splitting. So we've got supremekinetics.health, which is all things nutrition, dance, and fitness. And then we've got Supreme Kinetics, which has to do with body language and stage coaching and a little bit more presentations with movement. And I'll explain a little bit more about that, but we're separating the two now so we can focus our attention on each. So on the supremekinetics.health side of things, we're going to have a book launch pretty soon. So I wrote a book. It's called Diets. We're just not that into them, because really we're just not that into them anymore, right? And it's not really a book. It's kind of more like a program. In the book, it's 13 modules or chapters, whatever you want to call them. And in each chapter, there's a minds-on activity that's going to help you focus your thoughts on the topics that we're going to be talking about, and then a homework assignment after the lesson to consolidate what you've just learned. Do I sound like a teacher? Yeah, sorry. And then after the book launches, we're going to have it launched on the website as well as on Amazon. It's coming. Then I've created a workshop. We're just finishing up the last final touches on the workshop. What is the workshop? It is basically an extension of the course manual or the workshop manual, which is Diets. We're just not that into them. And these are video tutorials. So if you're not one for just sitting there and reading, you want a little extension with the ideas. It's more of a discussion-based workshop. There's going to be a video tutorial for each module, each chapter, and it's going to be a little bit more in depth, so it can help you reach your goals a little bit better. So more on that coming soon. So that launch is going to be happening within about a month or so. Obviously, you're going to do more master classes because this is so fun to get the information out there. One-on-one Zoom call coaching. Yeah, I'm going to be doing that. So if you have any specific needs that you'd like to address personally one-on-one, we can definitely talk about that. So that's going to be coming soon. Live master classes, ones that are a little bit more interactive, where you can ask questions and we can expand on that and we can chat amongst ourselves and build on each other's ideas. Definitely going to be doing that. I've created a dance program. So right now it's free. It's on my YouTube channel. It's called Supreme Kinetics Health. And basically it's a bunch of warm-ups, cool downs, and dances. And they're basically dance workout. I try to make it as simplified as possible, so you're not going to break a leg. Not saying that you're simple and you need simple things, but as we get started, and then we'll increase the difficulty level just a little bit. So they're live and pre-recorded. So we're going to be looking at that a little bit more in depth. That's going to be launching pretty soon. A fitness app. I created a fitness app, but we're going to redesign it a little bit. I need some help from my media guy, so he's going to make it look a little bit better for us. So stay tuned for that. And then we're redesigning the website. Now that we've split up Supreme Kinetics and supremekinetics.health, we're redefining the website. So if you happen to go to the website right now, supremekinetics.health, you're going to see a whole bunch of confusing things. Unless you're watching this after the website's done, then great. So take a look at that, check back on that, and see all the new things that we are going to be launching. So there's more to come. Check back. All these things coming soon, all the launches, all the excitement, more information. I know. Also, we're social. You can take a look at us on YouTube, as I just talked about, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. If you have any questions at all, feel free to contact us at supremekinetics@gmail.com. And congratulations! You successfully completed this masterclass. As I said, if you have any questions on any of the topics that we just discussed, or if you have any inquiries, please email us at supremekinetics@gmail.com. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited for your nutritional lifestyle journey. I really want to be a part of it. So if you have any comments, not just questions, you have comments, you know where to find us. Thank you so much, and good luck with your journey.